I have a question from Kaylee.
Hey, Kaylee.
She says, I'm reading your book, Good News About Sex and Marriage. Based on your chapter called Who Says, what do you feel about Vatican II? Should this have ever happened, or was it a devil in disguise?
So, for those who aren't familiar with my book, the Who Says chapter is about church authority and
Mm-hmm.
who's the Catholic Church to be telling me anything anyway, and why should I care and why should I listen? Um, and she, in that context of church authority, is asking a question about the Second Vatican Council. There has been a lot of conversation out there in the Catholic blogosphere and media world about Vatican II. And was it a valid council, and problems with the council, and even some people that, scholars that I've known and trusted and respected are saying, in my opinion, some rather startling things about the council.
Mm.
And I think what's going on is a kind of collective concern with the state of the church in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
which I share. We are in dire straits. We are in a very, very difficult, painful crisis in the church. And people are looking for reasons. Why are we in this crisis?
Yeah.
And some are going back and saying the council is to blame. I do not share that perspective. Are there places in the council documents that could use improvement? Sure. Was it worded perfectly? No. That's the case with any church document. It's written by human beings. There's always room for improvement or expressing it this way or that way. So I don't find fault with those who find some faults with the council documents, because there are some faults in the council documents because they're written by human beings. Nonetheless, the council documents received as they were intended, and not just nitpicking on this or that or word choice, but the council document as it was intended is a gift of the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's an ecumenical council. If we start throwing out the Second Vatican Council as some work of the devil, well, now you have a different ecclesiology. You have a different understanding of what the church is. What is the work of the devil is to get in and twist up what the council taught so that we get confused, and you end up with some vague, they call it the spirit of the council, which ends up meaning whatever anybody wants it to mean.
Mm.
And Pope Paul VI himself, in the aftermath of the council, said, "It seems the smoke of Satan has entered the church through some crack."
Mm.
And that was his, just looking out at the church and what was going on and the chaos that was happening after the council. Was that the council's fault? No, it's the enemy attacking the gift of the council. That's my perspective. I think that's the authentic Catholic perspective. There's room for improvement in some of the council documents. I don't think anybody would argue with that. But the council was a gift. And I would also point out this, just historically speaking, we're only 55 years out from the close of the council. And historians will tell you that whenever there's a council, a major council such as this one, it takes about 100 years for the council to bear its fruit. And in those 100 years, there's a lot of what the historians call post-conciliar chaos. Well, I was born in the late 60s and you were born in the early 70s. And all we've known is this post-conciliar chaos. Don't blame the council. Rather have patience that the gift of the council will bear its fruit. And it has already borne tremendous fruits. One of the great fruits of the council is the theology of the body itself. Another great fruit of the council is the catechism of the Catholic Church. And there will be more fruits. We have yet to see the liturgical renewal that the council promised. But let's give it another at least 45 years and see what happens. And let's have patience. Let's have trust. The council will bear its fruit.
I love what you're giving us in terms of historical perspective, because that's a really hard-earned thing to
Yeah,
have historical perspective. As you said, we've only lived this way, and we've had whatever religious education we've had. And, it tends to be kind of limited in terms of how we understand the much bigger picture that you're talking about. So thank you. Thank you for all your study that we're benefiting from
sure.
here, and just trying to open our eyes. And it can be sort of disturbing to our sense of our foundation to have someone say, well, things are not as they should be. Well, then what do I trust in? What do I, find comforting?
Yes.
And so I think the question in your book, who says, is about being able to trust the authority of the church. And I
Yes.
appreciate that that's really important in this whole debate, is to trust the Holy Spirit is behind the gathering of the council. There is an enemy that has caused some things to be misapplied, misinterpreted,
Yes.
but to trust that God sees the bigger picture and is making continually beautifying his bride, and that we are, so close to him. He's working on every single one of us, and he's working on the whole church.
And he's not afraid of post-conciliar chaos, right? This is part of our humanity. He enters into our chaos to redeem it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of looking backward to this or that fault with the council, I think we need to look forward to his promise, just as you said, Wendy, that he's beautifying the bride.
Yeah.
But we got to let him into our crud. We got to let him into our own personal chaos. And part of the chaos we got to let him into is this tendency to want to blame the council for things the council is not responsible for. The enemy, I think Saint Pope Paul VI said it the best. The enemy has entered the church through some crack, the smoke of Satan. It seems like it's entered the church. And that has caused a lot of chaos. There's no doubt about that. But he doesn't win. In the end, he's cast out, and we know who wins. Let's trust in that promise, and let's ride this post-conciliar wave the whole way through.
Yeah.
And the council will bear its fruits. I'm utterly convinced.